Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, as we explore the future of battery metal exploration with Central African Gold. Joining us, Executive Chair Stephen Barley and Founder Kevin Turdag. Welcome, sir.
Good morning, Kyle.
Such a pleasure, guys. So before we kind of get too much into your experience, what kind of led you down this path, you guys have some massive transitions going on with 5 concessions, kind of just waiting that regulatory approval. For newer investors, can you guys expand on these projects that you have going on in the Congo?
Yeah, actually, Kyle, there's 6 concessions. They are 100% owned, which is unusual for the Congo. Kevin had the foresight back in 2017 when the mining office opened up for new applications. Kevin put in 17 applications. We ended up having 6 of them accepted, which we call the King Luba concessions. And they're all strategically located next to other mining operations.
Good to hear. Kevin, any insights there?
Well, we basically wanted to always have a reason to be in the Congo, and grabbing those concessions and holding on to them has allowed us to stay in the game while the commodity prices have gone through, through their normal ups and downs. But more and more so now that the demand for cobalt and copper are well recognized, having those 6 concessions in the Congo basically gives us a reason to say we are from there, and we have a reason to be there, and hence the reason why further opportunities have opened up for us.
That's great to hear. So just to kind of expand on that, what got you guys into the Congo? I know Steve said there was a bit of a long story to that, but I'd love to hear about it. And do you guys have any what are the results that you've been able to find there just from basic exploration? Do you guys have any insights into the rating of the minerals?
Our success basically has been first and foremost to not only accumulate the land package, but while we started accumulating this package, we also formed some relationships, some joint ventures with some local partners who had some projects that were a little bit more advanced than ours. And we jumped on the opportunity with commodity prices moving to all-time highs, especially for copper and cobalt at the time when the craze came in. And we spent the better part of our funding that we received when we went public to explore. And that's what we did. We explored on 3 of other concessions, joint venture partnership concessions that we had. And what basically happened was we were short funded and we basically came up empty. We didn't find the mineralization that we were looking for in a commercial perspective. And because the exploration risk capital dried up, we basically abandoned those projects and didn't pursue them. And we held on to the 6 King Luba concessions that we got, with the hope that one day prices might come back up and exploration might become a focus again. But copper cobalt is what drove me into the Congo, as you could see that there was a demand starting to build up on a lot of copper, and then cobalt started coming into the play. And as an associated metal in the Congo, I thought it'd be opportunistic for us to be there before anybody else got there, and that's the reason why I went down.
Oh, no, that's great to hear. So, Steve and Kevin, do you guys mind touching base on your experience kind of in this sector, winding back before you guys kind of went down into the African cobalt here?
Well, from my perspective, I've always been involved on the mining side of things. I've been involved with several projects that we started out from inception, brought it all the way up to bankable feasibility, mostly located in North America, touching on uranium, niobium, and potash. So my focus has always been some of the key niche metals that no one really knows anything about until they become front page news. So my background for the last 25, 30 years has always been in mining. I'm starting projects from zero to feasibility study, and we've had a good success run here in North America, and we thought we'd try our hand in venturing into Africa, and that's been a completely different challenge on its own, but it's one that I'm happy that I did, because I think this is where you need to be. Anyone in the mining sector needs to have a presence not only in Africa but more specifically in the Congo.
Yeah, we're definitely in a renaissance here when it comes to the exploration side of these commodities. But Stephen.
Yes, I'm with my corporate securities background as a lawyer. I acted for a number of mining companies when I initially started practicing. But for the past over 20 years, I've been involved as a senior executive in multiple mining companies, most on a international basis, on both with joint ventures with major mining companies, one in the United States and one in Argentina. And then became involved with Kevin in the DRC, starting really in a minor role in 2015. And then we took the company public in 2017, and I've held a senior executive role with the company ever since.
Great to hear. So, as you guys kind of wind into this last quarter of the year, what can we kind of expect for the news pipeline coming down, or anything that's really exciting you guys right now that you're able to touch base on?
Well, Kevin, I shouldn't say we, it's really Kevin has paid the price to get the education in the DRC. What you have to understand, it's a very complex political and corporate environment. And if you do not know how it works internally, then you will have zero chance of success. I don't care if you're a major or mid-tier, it doesn't matter. Kevin and our team know how to work deals in the Congo. Our new CEO, Yves Kabongo, Congolese born, Canadian educated, and is living in Kinshasa, the capital city. Grant Dempsey, who is our president and COO, is one of the most respected mining engineers in the Congo, and he has been in the Congo for over 20 years and is actually based in Lubumbashi. So we have a team on the ground who are experienced in doing business and dealing with the Congolese environment. That, I think, is the key asset that we have. We have the experience, we have the team to get projects done. We have the 6 King Luba concessions. As I mentioned, it's unusual, but they're 100% owned. We just announced the acquisition and closing of the Musafi Gold transaction. And Musafi is a 924 square kilometer area of really high potential for gold in Kasai Central province. We are working at various other transactions of a major nature. And because of our experience and our contacts, we're actually at the table negotiating on those. And we expect to have at least one of those material transactions to be announced in the next very short period of time. But there are at least 2 or 3 other major transactions in the pipeline. And this is just the payoff for all the years of effort in the DRC.
Just to quickly dive down into kind of what you mentioned there about kind of like mining friendly jurisdictions, can you kind of expand on some of the regulatory issues? Are these kind of areas where there's good infrastructure? Can you kind of just expand a little bit more on kind of like the government politics behind what you're doing here?
Kevin, I'll let you speak.
I'll jump into that. The political landscape and the mining landscape is pretty much one and the same. I mean, it's the same fabric in the Congo as the number one source of revenue for the government is through taxation of mining companies. Infrastructure is obviously very weak. The lack of power, the lack of reliable roads or roads that are actually built are almost non-existent. I mean, there's a lack of infrastructure. Most of the investments that have gone into power generation and creating some sort of power is mostly done by the Chinese to supply power to their existing plants. I mean, the Chinese have been there for plus or minus now 10, 15 years, and they've built some good inroads, and they have an ability because of their capital costs to be able to kind of do things that typically would not be so cost beneficial for us. But you do have the landscape over there where things are changing to the point where there's a new government, there's a new president, there's new ministers that came into power not too long ago, a few months ago, which basically had kind of grip locked the country without anything being moved. There's obviously a new course of new sheriff in town, so there is a revision of the contracts, but the rule of law exists there. And it's just on how it's applied. But the rules and regulations are very clear. There's a very strong mining code that needs to be changed, hopefully from a taxation perspective, because it makes it very expensive for junior mining companies such as ourselves to be able to sustain ourselves there, especially when we're spending US dollars and raising Canadian dollars and spending US dollars. But the infrastructure aspect of it is a big proponent, hence the reason why when the carbon credit story came out and we looked at it in a way where how can we benefit to become a responsible miner, was that the mining code allows for us to be able to reduce the carbon footprint on our concessions. It's in the mining code. So we thought if we're not going to drill it, then we can use part of these concessions to see what we can do to be part of the carbon supply chain story. I think everything is evolving as we speak, and everything is becoming part and parcel of one plan. So I think that the country right now is at a critical juncture where it needs a lot of help. It needs a lot of support. It's getting a lot of support from the international community. The president is saying and doing the right things, more importantly. And I think the key mining areas, just for the mining areas, I think you're going to see an influx of European money and American money coming in because they have no choice but to at least secure or be as close to the supply chain as possible. So it's an exciting time for us, and new opportunities are coming up every day. And unless you're in the Congo and you know how to assess these opportunities and get a value around it, then you'll miss out on these things. It's not a function of money. It's a function of being there and understanding the dynamics of how the country works. I'm not sure if I answered all of your question or part of your question, but if there's any clarity, I'll be happy to make it.
No, I think you've offered some incredible insights for this first introduction here. If investors have questions, where can they find you guys?
At www.centralafricangold.com.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll leave all the tickers up as well, and obviously all the links in the description below. And if anybody out there has any questions further, let us know in the comment section below, and we'll try and get some of those retail investor questions in perhaps on the next interview here. But thanks so much for your time, guys.
Thank
Appreciate it,
you.
Kyle. Thank you.
Pleasure. Stay cool. Stay awesome,
You
everyone.
too.
And we'll
Thank you.
catch you next time. Cheers.